Hello everyone, welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm broadcasting to you live from beautiful Budapest, Hungary, Central Europe at our new time, which is usually at this hour of the day, 13 o'clock Central European time, or 15 o'clock if you're, or sorry, 17 o'clock if you're thinking GMAT time. Hi Jagdeep, how are you? Nice of you to be the first student in class. Hi Manisha, how you doing? Okay, girls and guys, so today we're looking at some IELTS reading strategies with examples. Today is July 6, 2018, and as usual, our materials are coming from our websites for academic IELTS. Please visit us at aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com. There's lots of tools for you there to succeed in IELTS and for your university or college studies. And if you're studying for general IELTS, please visit us at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com for 6 full practice exams, interactive course, 100 hours of video lessons, and lots more. You can also get our app from our app store. Look for Academic IELTS Help. You'll see our symbol there, and you can download that for lots of exciting materials to help you. Hi everyone. Hi Ivna. Hi Rajan. Hi Kira. Nice to see you. Manisha, thanks for asking. I'm doing great. I hope you're doing well also. If anybody's having difficulty with the picture or the audio, please let me know so I can try to adjust it. Hopefully it's clear on your end, okay? All right, so here's just a little quick peek at our schedule. Today we're doing reading practice. Tomorrow we will have a sponsor chat only class looking at a writing task 2 that was requested by one of our sponsors. And then we'll have an everyone chat the day after. Also for writing task 2, Monday, Tuesday, no class. And then back on Wednesday the 11th with some listening practice. And then there's the rest of the schedule going forward. All right, so today let's look at some reading. Let's talk about some strategies. We'll talk about list of headings and multiple choice. You can see the questions in the stream description as well, okay? So if you're lost, you don't know what's going on, then look at the stream description as well. All right, just so you kind of see what we're going to be looking at today as far as the passage, we're going to be talking about mirages, okay? So today's passage is coming out of our academic book number 2, and the topic is mirages. Does everybody know what a mirage is, or does anybody know what a mirage actually is before we read the passage? What is a mirage? Sandeep says, yes, I know what it is. Can anybody tell me what a mirage is? What is a mirage? Yeah, it's a type of illusion, absolutely. It's a type of image that we see which is not actually there. Most commonly, we're thinking that we're seeing water, especially if we're very thirsty when we're out in the desert, and that water is not actually there. Okay, so we're going to read this passage in a bit, but before we do that, let's talk a little bit about list of headings strategies. So I know list of headings gives a lot of people a headache, no pun intended there, but there are some very effective strategies that you can do to answer list of headings questions effectively. So let's talk about list of headings strategies. All right, number 1. Let me get this a little bit bigger for you. So list of headings is unique compared to the other 10 type of questions that you see in the IELTS, in that it is given to you first, okay? So a list of headings is the only type of question in IELTS that you will see before the reading passage, okay? Every other question comes after the reading passage. So strategy number 1 for list of headings is make sure to look at this type of question before you read the passage. Okay? So that's one very important point. That's why it's given to you before the passage. Clearly, it is given to you before the passage, okay? All right, number 2 for list of headings questions is you have to realize that list of headings, the question is asking you the heading for the paragraph. So you have to choose an answer. Here's a list of headings right here. You have to choose an answer which is the correct heading for a paragraph, okay? So when you're looking at the reading, you'll see a number of paragraphs. Here we have paragraph A, and then you have to figure out what is the best heading for this paragraph. So you have to think about, okay, if this paragraph were just on its own, it was just by itself, what would be the best title? What would be the best heading to give to this paragraph? That's what the list of headings is getting you to think about and answer correctly, okay? So when you're looking at a paragraph, in a paragraph, usually you have 3 questions that are being answered. And I know the students that watch these classes regularly will know what I'm talking about. So when you look at a paragraph, what kind of questions does a paragraph answer? Or, if I say this another way, what is the question structure of a paragraph? Manisha, very good. So paragraphs are usually structured as what, why, how. That's good writing. That's what you have to do for your task 2. So to give you a simple example here, let's say I'm talking about squirrels, okay? Squirrels are those little animals that live in the trees. So let's say I write a paragraph about squirrels. So I start off with, squirrels are one of the cutest small fuzzy creatures found in nature. These little animals collect food all year round so that they can hibernate during the colder winter months. They hide the food in different places. When they wake up after their long sleep, they look for this food in order to fatten up. For instance, a small squirrel living in your neighborhood park can pack away as much as 50 kilograms of nuts during a season. This will keep him well supplied after his long nap. Okay, so this is a what, why, how structure talking about squirrels. I just made this up, and you can do this as well once you practice it enough. Now, IELTS paragraphs are structured the same way. Nuts are, Sandeep, what are nuts? Nuts are like peanuts or acorns or walnuts. You find them in chocolate as well. They grow on trees. They're basically little seeds that are hard, okay? They're the fruit of trees, Sandeep. All right, so paragraphs are structured as what, why, how. And the key here is list of headings, questions are looking for the what answer, okay? Meaning, what is this paragraph about? Okay, now this is important to think about because you will have some choices. So when you look at your choices, here are the choices for this reading, okay? I'll make it a little bit smaller here. It's okay that you can't read it, but you have 11 choices here. And some of these choices are not a what type of information, but they're a why or a how. So they're details. Details are not the correct answer in list of headings. So you have to be very careful that you're focusing on the what information, what is this paragraph about, and not the why and not the how, okay? So don't get lost in those details, all right? So we'll look at this, of course, and I'll show you in practice how this works. So you're looking for those what questions, all right? Now, the next one that I want to tell you about for this strategy is actually a caution, okay? So skimming and scanning. So careful not to do skimming or scanning for this type of question. It's especially dangerous. Does anybody know why? Does anybody know why it can be very dangerous or very difficult to try to skim or scan for list of headings questions? And this is where a lot of students get lost, because I know a lot of students out there learn this bad strategy and they get really frustrated and they get a lot of wrong answers. So why are list of headings not a really bad idea to try to skim or scan for? There's actually two reasons, okay? You'll see that one actually becomes a strategy. So this doesn't work because your choices are paraphrased, okay? So in most cases, you won't actually find the same words in these choices. So these choices that you see here, you won't actually find the same words that you find in the correct paragraph. Why? Because they're paraphrasing. So for a lot of you who don't know what paraphrasing is, it means saying the same information using different words. So let's say that a paragraph is talking about big trees. Now, the list of headings might say large plants. So if you're skim reading for large plants and the paragraph is using the words big trees, you're not going to find it, okay? And several paragraphs can contain that information. In fact, another one could contain it as a detail. So it's going to confuse you. Hi, Baljeet. Hi, Arcana. Nice to see a couple more of our sponsors jumping in. All right, so that's one of the reasons that it's paraphrased. That's one of the reasons skimming and scanning does not work, okay? So that's one reason. The other reason that skimming and scanning does not work is because sometimes you'll actually find details in the words, or sometimes you'll find the words in different paragraphs, okay? And that's tricky. What I mean by that is this might be, I'll give you an example, like this might be the correct answer, how the brain processes images for paragraph A, but you actually see this information in a different paragraph as a detail. So like some of you said, it can be confusing. The words can actually be in the wrong paragraph. Okay, so careful about that. This is basically the IELTS people that do this, and what they do is they want to make sure that you're using true reading comprehension skills and you're not just trying to match information, okay? So you have to be very careful with that. Okay, and then the next strategy that you want to do as you're practicing this at home, so when you practice this type of question at home, then paraphrase the choices. Okay, so let's do that now. So again, these are the four big strategies to keep in mind for list of headings. Number one, make sure to look at this question before you read the passage. They give it to you before the passage. And then number two, remember to focus on the what information. What is this paragraph about? Okay. Careful not to use skimming and scanning for this type of question. That can be very confusing and a waste of time, okay? And when you practice this question at home, paraphrase the choices, okay? So paraphrase the options as much as possible. And last but not least, answer these questions after you read each paragraph. Okay, so we'll practice all of these in a minute. Okay, for now, let's look at our list of headings questions. So here we have our first one, windows, mirrors, and hallucinations. Can we paraphrase that? I hope so. So we can say glass, reflections, and illusions, okay? So you want to do this nice and fast. How the brain processes mirages, okay? How the brain, the way the mind understands illusions, okay? So that's a way to paraphrase it. Let me bold the paraphrased parts here for you so you can see what is paraphrased and what is the original, okay? So this is what you want to do. You want to basically paraphrase your choices so you train your brain to focus on the paraphrasing, okay? Let me challenge you on the next one here. So temperature gradients. What's another way to say temperature gradients? Okay, can anybody tell me what is a different way to say temperature gradients? I can see that a lot of you are having exams coming up as well, so it's a great time to learn these skills. And I wish you the best of luck on those upcoming exams. So temperature, there's another way to say temperature. Gradients, parameters are complete is good, okay. Variations in temperature, sure, or change in temperature is okay as well. Absolutely. Okay, changes or variances in temperature, climate, weather, those are all good. Variations of weather, Mohammed, nice to see you jump in. Let's look at this one. Filmable, but ultimately up to the mind. Can you think about how to say that in another way? Filmable, but ultimately up to the mind. Okay, what's another way to say filmable? Can be filmed. Okay, what's another way to do that? Well, here we go. Can be caught on video, but in the end up to the brain, right? So what we saw from before, okay? So that's another way to paraphrase that. All right, so this is basically what you're practicing at home, is you're practicing this paraphrasing. You're practicing saying these list of headings choices or understanding them in different ways, okay? So try that at home for these ones. A common experience of a mirage, the need for water, the cause of mirages, true hallucinations, an adventurer sees something. All right, so now let's actually practice this with the reading passage, okay? So let's jump back to our reading passage here, and let's see if we can't figure this out and do this together effectively, okay? So here we go. Mirages, we're all clear that mirages are a type of illusion that we see, especially water in a desert, okay? Let's read paragraph A together. So here we go, girls and guys. Just read with me nice and loud. Practice your aloud reading. Everybody ready to go? I hope so. Then I will start reading. Okay, here we go. All right, so here we go, girls and guys. Read with me. A man is walking in a desert in dire need of water. Up ahead, he sees what seems to be a lake or a pond. Excited, he runs towards the source of water. He gets closer, but the water disappears. He looks again, and the water reappears, but it is in the distance once again. He runs once more, but his efforts are futile. The water is not there. So, what do I need to do? What should I do right now? What should I do? I've read this paragraph. What should I do? Well, I should ask a question, right? So my question is, what is this paragraph about? And this will help me to answer the other questions of the passage as well. So what is this paragraph about? Exactly, Jubilant James. Ask, what is the paragraph about? So here, what is this paragraph about? Can anybody answer that? A man is walking in the desert. I don't want the answer. I want to know, what is this paragraph about? So what is paragraph A about? Okay. So what is paragraph A about? About a man who needs water? Sure. About a man who needs water and keeps seeing things in the desert? Yeah. It's a long one, but that's my answer. So what is paragraph A about? About a man in need of water that keeps seeing illusions. That's what it's about. Okay, so what is the correct answer then? Okay, so let's have a look at our answer choices here. Which one of these matches closest to my answer? Windows, mirrors, and hallucinations? No. How the brain processes mirages? Maybe. Temperature gradients? I don't know. Filmable, but ultimately up to the mind? Maybe. A common experience of a mirage? Maybe. The need for water? The cause of mirages? True hallucinations? An adventurer sees something? The differences between two phenomenon? The fallible human mind? Which one do you think is the closest one to what I just said? A man in need of water keeps seeing illusions. Which one is the closest? Keep it simple, girls and guys. I think a lot of you are trying to get the answer from the choices and not from your own mind. I think the best answer for this one is an adventurer sees something. The adventurer is the man. Sees something is the water that keeps moving. So my argument here is that the closest match to what I just said, a man keeps seeing water, which is an illusion, is an adventurer sees something. So IX is, I think, the best answer from these choices. It's the closest match. Okay? Again, remember, for list of headings, you need to figure out what is the paragraph about on your own, and then choose the answer that matches. Okay? So here, I'm going to say that the answer is, for paragraph A, number 9. Okay? It's number 9, or IX. Let's keep going. Remember, the introduction and the conclusion are the most difficult ones in the list of headings. The body paragraphs get a little bit easier. That's because the structure of the what, why, how is more clear. All right? So let's look at paragraph B. Hopefully, you'll get a little bit more into the rhythm. All right? Okay, let's keep going with this. Again, think about the what question. So what is the paragraph about? Look at each paragraph on its own merit. The man is not going mad. In fact, there is something wrong with him or his... In fact, there is nothing wrong with him or his vision at all. What he has seen is called a mirage. Mirages are optical illusions caused by atmospheric conditions which play tricks on the brain's visual system. Importantly, they are not hallucinations. Hallucinations are fabrications, while mirages are a result of a phenomenon in the real world. Another way to look at the difference between hallucinations and mirages is that mirages will be seen by any observer. Hallucinations, conversely, exist only in the mind of the person hallucinating. Okay? So, what is this paragraph about? What is paragraph B about? And the answer is given, but I still want you to know. So Mohammed says, paragraph B is an explanation about illusions and mirages, okay? So Harmeet says it's about a mirage. What is a mirage, right? So the simple answer is, what is a mirage? Jeffrey, very good. What a mirage is. That's the most simple answer to this question. So if we look at the choices, okay, so it's talking about what a mirage is and what it's not. It's not a hallucination, it's an illusion, right? Windows, mirrors, and hallucinations, no. The brain's processing images, no. Temperature gradients, no. Filmable, no. A common experience of a mirage, maybe. The need for water, the cause of mirages, maybe. The hallucinations, an adventurer sees something, the difference between two phenomenon. The fallible human mind. Well, definitely the paragraph tells us that a mirage is not a hallucination. It tells us the difference between those two phenomenon. It gives us a clear answer. So X is given. And usually on IELTS, they'll give you the example answer for a body paragraph, not the introduction and not the conclusion, because those are a little bit more difficult and they want you to answer those ones. Okay? Let's go to paragraph C. All right, watch, you'll get into it, you'll get the rhythm, and this is what you need to do at home. So you need to practice this at home so you can really get into the rhythm of this type of critical thinking. So here we go, paragraph C, read with me. While the man walking in the desert anecdote is a popular mirage, a popular mirage narrative, the most common mirage in everyday life actually takes place on long, straight, flat highways on sunny days. Driving along such a highway on such a day, it is common to see what looks like a puddle of water on the road in the distance. But once that point is reached, the puddle is gone and is instead located further in the distance. What is going on here? Okay, what is this paragraph about? What is paragraph C about? Okay, so let's jump back here. What is paragraph C about? That's the question you need to ask. And this one's a very simple one, so I hope everybody gets it. Yeah, it's an example of a mirage. Yeah. And if you want to be a little bit more detailed, very good, Ung, and very good for the rest of you. So it's an example, right? It's talking about what type of mirage? The most common mirage, right? It's talking about the most common mirage, which is driving down a highway. And I'm sure lots of us have seen this when we're driving along on a hot day on a straight highway. So what is this paragraph about? It's about the most common type of mirage, water on the highway, right? Not the desert, but water on the highway, all right? That's the easiest way to think about it. What is it about? It's about that one. So which of these choices match that answer? So which of these choices match that answer the best? Windows, mirrors, know how the brain processes temperature gradients, filmable but ultimately up to the human mind, a common experience of a mirage. That looks great. I probably don't even need to read the rest of them, but just for fun, nope, 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 definitely not. So it's got to be 5, right? Good. And now I can see a lot of you are also starting to get the hang of this a little bit more and are picking the right answers. So answer is 5. Make sure in your answer sheet you put the Roman numeral 5 in there, okay? Now let's jump to D, okay? And now we're cruising and doing well, feeling confident. Okay, here we go. D. The cause of mirages is the difference in heat between the ground and the air. Tarmac, the surface material of highways, can get very hot in the summer and releases heat, raising the temperature of the air immediately above the tarmac. The air higher up is much cooler, so there is a sharp temperature gradient or rate of change in the air above the highway. It is known from physics that light is refracted or bent differently through air at different temperatures. The sharp temperature gradient in the air immediately above the highway causes the light rays to bend upwards toward the cooler, denser air. Because the human visual system interprets all light rays as being straight, which in general is true, we interpret these bent rays as originating from the ground. What is seen on the ground in the distance is simply a reflection of the sky on the ground, which from afar looks precisely like a puddle of water in the middle of the road. And rolling with the punches, we ask, what is paragraph D about? Okay. So what is this paragraph about in Madhulina, Majibur, Deepa, Pandey, Ayman? I see that you're jumping the gun and doing so very well. About the cause of mirages. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. It's the cause of mirages, and if we get into the details, it's temperature gradients and so on, but the what answer is the cause of mirages. So let's see if we have a choice that's close to that. Okay. Windows, mirrors, hallucinations. How the brain processes mirages. Maybe. Temperature gradients. There's some information on there about that. Filmable, a common experience of a mirage, the need for water, the cause of mirages, true hallucinations, and adventure. See something, the difference between two phenomena, a fallible human mind. What do you think is the best answer? Look at all those beautiful brains all agreeing that, hey, this is what it's about. That's a detail. So this is where if you're not using the right strategy that I'm showing you, it's easy for many students to accidentally choose 3 as the answer. But you would be wrong because that's just a detail or a part of that body paragraph. What the body paragraph is about is the cause of mirages. So 7 is definitely the right answer. And that's how you avoid making mistakes in list of headings, okay? So the closest match is 7. So here our answer is 7-7. There we go. And we go on to paragraph E. Let's keep rolling along nice and smooth, just the same. So here we go. Again, read with me. Nice and loud, girls and guys. You're very welcome, Harmeet. Here we go. That humans see the phenomenon as a puddle of water is not a coincidence, however. It is the result of a rapid problem-solving process in the brain, which attempts to make sense of conflicting phenomenon. Since humans are not accustomed to seeing non-straight light rays, the brain must make sense of them as best it can. Water on the highway is not the only explanation for what the mind sees ahead. A window pane or a mirror may be on the road instead. If there was a large mirror on the road, for example, the visual phenomenon would be identical to the driver would see a reflection of the sky on the road in the distance. So why is it that we always interpret the mirage as water on the road and not a mirror in the road or something else? It is because the brain, without consciously thinking, makes the best inference it can. The average person in their catalog of experiences does not have a real non-mirage experience of seeing a mirror in the middle of the highway. Conversely, the average person does have a real experience of seeing a puddle on the highway. Any sufficiently rainy day will produce this effect. The brain compares the probability of these two and other possibilities and concludes that the phenomenon must be a puddle of water. Knowing that the water is not, in fact, there does nothing to dispel us from the visual impression that water is on the highway. The brain's visual machinery is not subject to the logic of the rest of the brain. No matter how hard a person tries to unsee the mirage, it will always be there. Okay, so what is this paragraph about? And some of you are already giving some good answers there, Kaur. Definitely something about the brain. Tabassum, absolutely. It's talking about the brain. So the brain's thinking, the brain's processing, the brain's visual processing, if we want to be a little bit more detailed here, right? So again, don't be shy, especially when you practice this at home. Go through the steps. What is this paragraph about? Make sure you etch that question into your brain. Okay, you're saying how the brain identifies a mirage or how the brain processes. Vikram, Rumi, absolutely. The way the brain, the visual brain processes info. Let's just keep it at that. So you're all kind of close. Make sure you give a nice round answer. Hey, let's see if something matches. Okay. So, windows, mirrors, hallucinations. Yeah, I could maybe choose that if I was skimming and scanning, because there's a lot of words like mirrors in there. Number 2, how the brain processes mirages. Hey, that looks pretty spank on what we just talked about there. Temperature gradients, filmable. It's okay to skim through the rest of them just to make sure there isn't something that's even closer to what we're thinking about. But how the brain processes mirages, I definitely agree, is probably the best answer, okay? So let's give that. So therefore, answer is 2. It's the closest match, right? Make sure you're putting, again, the Roman numeral II into your answer sheet, okay? All right. So on to the last paragraph, I believe. Here we go. Paragraph F. And it's a little short one, so bear with me. Read along nice and loud, girls and guys. You're doing a great job, by the way. Prajam absolutely wasn't about mirrors and so on, so it would not be I. It'd be number 2, okay? How the brain processes mirages. That's what we talked about here. All right, F. Interestingly, mirages can actually be captured on film. Because the refracted light rays really are forming an image on the road, what the false image is mistaken for, however, is entirely up to the interpretation of the human mind. Okay? What is this paragraph about? What is it about? Don't give me the answer. Tell me what it's about. What is paragraph F about? Very good, Mohammed. So recording a mirage. That I can tell that that's your own original answer, and it's very good, okay? Jubilant, very good as well. Mirages can be recorded and imagined as well. Absolutely. Very nice. Nice answers. So what is this paragraph about? Mirages can be recorded and up to the mind. All right, very good. So now if we go back to our choices, then here you go. We look through it and there's filmable, but ultimately up to the mind, which is number 4. So the answer's got to be number 4. Very, very good, girls and guys. All right, great job. And now, hopefully, you're feeling much more confident in how to answer these questions. So answer is IV, number 4. Okay, it's the closest match. All right, so again, just a quick review here, okay? Remember, for list of headings, this is your strategy. Make sure to look at the question before you read the passage, okay? It's given to you before the passage. Because good writing is usually structured as what, why, how, most cases in that order, you're thinking of the what question. What is this paragraph about? Because you're thinking about the heading, the topic for that paragraph. Don't do skimming and scanning because you can get confused and easily tricked by the choices. Skimming and scanning is a very poor or very bad strategy for this type of question, okay? When you practice these questions at home, make sure to do that paraphrasing for the choices that I showed you. And again, answer each paragraph as you finish reading it. You will almost always have one of these list of headings questions in your academic IELTS exam, and sometimes in the third section of your general IELTS exam as well, okay? So that's list of headings. Now let's talk a little bit about multiple choice, okay? We'll have some other questions here as well, but I want to talk about multiple choice strategy, all right? So a lot of students ask me, how should I do multiple choice? I always get them wrong. All right, multiple choice strategy number one. So point number one, okay? For multiple choice, we'll go over everything again. So if something's not completely clear for some of the students here as we do the other questions and give the answers, you'll be more clear here. So multiple choice strategy. Multiple choice questions, make sure you only read the question and not the answer choices before the reading, okay? So only, and I mean only, read the question or statement, not the choices before the passage. Does anybody know why I say that? So why did I just give you that as the first strategy? Okay, why am I saying that? So for multiple choice, why did I just say to you, if you're going to look at the questions before you start reading, only look at the question in multiple choice or the statement, but don't look at the choices. Ashraf says to avoid confusion. Absolutely, and Manish is giving some more details. With multiple choice, if you have 4 choices, it means only one is correct, the other 3 are wrong. Those other 3 pieces of information can really confuse you and actually make you think poorly even for other questions in that reading section. So you don't want to get confused, okay? Avoid confusion. Don't read information that's not in the passage or that's wrong according to the passage. So that's number one. Okay? That's number one for multiple choice. Then the second one is when you're doing multiple choice, before you read the choices. So you looked at the statement, you looked at the question, great. You read the passage, excellent. Good for you. Hopefully you understood 60 to 70% at least. Now you're doing these questions. When you're doing these questions, don't look at the choices without thinking about the answer, okay? So think about the answer before you look at the choices, okay? It's very important. Put this another way is don't try to fish the correct answer from the choices. That's kind of a last resort. So that's the last thing if you're really stuck. You can do it, but otherwise don't do that. So don't think, okay, here's my choice 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna zip, throw out my fishing line, and hopefully I'll catch the right choice, and then zip, 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 I'll reel it in, and I got that mark. It's not a good idea. No, you should already see that fish. You should see the correct choice before you choose it. So decide what the answer is, and then find the correct match. So think about the answer before you look at the choice, then find the closest match to your answer, okay? And as a final note, never change your answers. A lot of psychology studies show that students will often change the correct answer to the wrong answer, especially in multiple choice, okay? So studies show that students often change correct to incorrect answers in multiple choice. Okay, so stick with the correct answer. Okay. Here's our first question. You know what? I can move everything else down so you don't see it. Move this up. Okay, so this is our first multiple choice question here. Why do we see the image on the road as a puddle of water? Okay. Absolutely, cat lover. So that's exactly what I'm saying is figure out the answer independently based on the question. Don't depend on the answers, okay? It's not very tricky as long as you practice it. It's much, much more tricky if you depend on the answers and you keep choosing the wrong answers, okay? So you don't really need to look back at the paragraph here. It is in paragraph C, so that's right, Deepa. But you can't figure it out. So why do we see the image on the road as a puddle of water? It's an optical illusion. There's hot weather. Yeah. What other reasons can you give me? So this is where, again, you shouldn't have to skim or scan for these. So because it is hot, there is an optical illusion due to temperature variances. Sure, those are all okay, but it gave us a little bit of a better explanation there. So Jeffrey says, our mind thinks that it's sensible, okay? So we see the mirage as a puddle of water because it's the closest and most familiar image to our brain, okay? Reflection, yeah, is a good one as well. Tabassum, so it's a reflection of the sky, sure. And I would say it is the closest image that our brain knows from experience. Okay? So we see a puddle of water because our brain has experienced seeing water on the road. It's never really experienced seeing a mirror or other objects, but it has experienced seeing water on the road, and it's the closest match. Okay? So it's an illusion, and it matches the closest to what we know. It's our most common experience. That's right, Manisha. So now, let's see if we can find the answer that matches the closest. So we are hallucinating it, but it's not really there. We are not accustomed to seeing mirrors in the middle of the road. It may have rained recently. It is the simplest answer and corresponds to our past experiences. Which one do you think is the closest match to what I just said? A, B, C, or D? All right, so Vijay, Manisha, I'm sorry I can't read the Cyrillic before Vijay, Jubilant, and all the rest of you. Yeah, absolutely. It's the simplest answer and corresponds to our past experience. Hey, it looks like water. It's got to be water. That's what I know. That's what I've experienced. It's got to be D, right? So correct answer is D. Absolutely. And you'll find that that's the correct answer, okay? So there we go. D it is. All right, let's have a look at the next question. Okay, so here we go. Number 40. Why can't a person unsee a mirage? Why can a person not unsee a mirage? So why is it that once we see a mirage, it's there forever, it's there for good? Okay? You don't need to read the paragraph, Deepa. If you've already had a good understanding of the passage, you don't need to read it. But hey, if you say, that's a difficult question, I don't exactly remember why we can't unsee the mirage, sure, we can go back, but try to answer it before that. Okay? Why can't we not see it? So why can't we erase the image? So Bharat says it appears as a reflection in the eye because it's related to human nature. Yeah, Jubilant says because it's how the brain processes information and it can't be avoided by the brain. All right, so for those of you who are doubting and you're not sure and you say, hey, let's look at the passage again to just double check that. Sure, let's do it, okay? So here we go. We definitely remember that this was near the end in paragraph E, I believe. Here we go. And again, when you do a good job on list of headings, you know where to find information. So here we go. Knowing that the water is not in fact there does nothing to dispel us from the visual impression that water is on the highway. The brain's visual machinery is not subject to the logic of the rest of the brain. No matter how hard a person tries to unsee the mirage, it will always be there. So from this part of the reading, I know that the answer must be something like the brain's visual machinery is not subject to the logic of the brain. So the brain's visual system works in such a way that it's not logical and it cannot unsee what it sees, okay? So it's recorded by the brain. The visual system is not necessarily logical. It cannot unsee, okay? So here, if I go back, I like that answer by Jubilant. It was a very nice answer. I think it's still up there. Yeah, because it's the way the brain's visual system works. It's not logical. It sees something, it stays there. Okay, sure. So that's a very complex answer, but even something more simple could work, okay? No, Jubilant, thank you. That was good thinking. Here we go. A, logic demands that we cannot see it. Human vision is not logical. The brain's visual machinery is incapable of changing. The brain is overly complex and unadaptable. So which one is the closest to this answer? Is it A, logic demands that we cannot see it? B, human vision is not logical. The brain's visual machinery is incapable of changing. The brain, yeah, C looks good. Most of you are giving C. I would go with C. It says once the visual system sees something, then that's it, okay? So C it is. All right, so that's our answer there for that one. Now, as the next step, what I would like to do is like to build your reading fluency, okay? So we've looked at strategy for list of headings. We've looked at strategy for multiple choice. Now, let's do a little bit of building your reading fluency. We're going to read this passage one more time. And this time, I'm going to play the audio from our website. So just read with the native British speaker. Okay, this is our academic IELTS website. You can log in at the top. This is the aehelp.com. And then here you have all of your audio CDs. This is coming out of test number 5, passage number 3, so it's CD 5, passage 3. So get ready to read.
Mirages. A man is walking in a desert in dire need of water. Up ahead, he sees what seems to be a lake or a pond. Excited, he runs towards the source of water. He gets closer, but the water disappears. He looks again, and the water reappears, but it is in the distance once again. He runs once more, but his efforts are futile. The water is not there. The man is not going mad. In fact, there is nothing wrong with him or his vision at all. What he has seen is called a mirage. Mirages are optical illusions caused by atmospheric conditions, which play tricks on the brain's visual system. Importantly, they are not hallucinations. Hallucinations are fabrications, while mirages are a result of phenomena in the real world. Another way to look at the difference between hallucinations and mirages is that mirages will be seen by any observer. Hallucinations, conversely, exist only in the mind of the person hallucinating. While the man walking in the desert anecdote is a popular mirage narrative, the most common mirage in everyday life actually takes place on long, straight, flat highways on hot, sunny days. Driving along such a highway on such a day, it is common to see what looks like a puddle of water on the road in the distance. But once that point is reached, the puddle is gone, and instead, located further in the distance. What is going on here? The cause of mirages is the difference in heat between the ground and the air. Tarmac, the surface material of highways, can get very hot in the summer and releases heat, raising the temperature of the air immediately above the tarmac. The air higher up is much cooler, so there is a sharp temperature gradient, or rate of change, in the air above the highway. It is known from physics that light is refracted or bent differently through air at different temperatures. The sharp temperature gradient in the air immediately above the highway causes the light rays to bend upwards towards the cooler, denser air. Because the human visual system interprets all light rays as being straight, which in general is true, we interpret these bent rays as originating from the ground. What is seen on the road in the distance is simply a reflection of the sky on the ground, which from afar looks precisely like a puddle of water in the middle of the road. That humans see the phenomenon as a puddle of water is not a coincidence, however. It is the result of a rapid problem-solving process in the brain, which attempts to make sense of conflicting phenomena. Since humans are not accustomed to seeing non-straight light rays, the brain must make sense of them as best it can. Water on the highway is not the only explanation for what the mind sees ahead. A window pane or a mirror may be on the road instead. If there was a large mirror on the road, for example, the visual phenomenon would be identical. The driver would see a reflection of the sky on the road in the distance. So why is it that we always interpret the mirage as water on the road and not a mirror in the road or something else? It is because the brain, without consciously thinking, makes the best inference it can. The average person in their catalogue of experiences does not have a real, non-mirage experience of seeing a mirror in the middle of a highway. Conversely, the average person does have a real experience of seeing a puddle on the highway. Any sufficiently rainy day will produce this effect. The brain compares the probabilities of these two and other possibilities and concludes that the phenomenon must be a puddle of water. Knowing that the water is not, in fact, there does nothing to dispel us from the visual impression that water is on the highway. The brain's visual machinery is not subject to the logic of the rest of the brain. No matter how hard a person tries to unsee a mirage, it will always be there. Interestingly, mirages can actually be captured on film because the refracted light rays really are forming an image on the road. What the false image is mistaken for, however, is entirely up to the interpretation of the human mind.
Okay, and that native British speaker reads that passage in about 7 minutes, all right? So if you read that fast, that's plenty fast enough for getting a high score on the IELTS exam. If you read a passage in 7 minutes and you have 13 minutes to answer questions, that's lots of time, okay? So if you can read at that speed, great. Make sure you work on your fluency as well as your comprehension skills, okay? Definitely separate those out. All right, so here we have a few more questions for this passage. that we can do together, okay? Let's see how well you understood the passage. So here, this is a fill in the blanks. It's choose no more than 2 words from the passage for each answer. Write your answers in the answer sheet. So mirages are created by something that fool the mind. So what are mirages created by that fool the mind? No more than 2 words. Let's see if anybody can answer that without looking at the passage. Yeah. Are created by temperature gradients, I would say. Yeah, very good, Jubilon. Temperature gradients. Now again, if you're skimming and scanning for this, it can take you a lot of time, so it's better if you can answer most of these without having to skim or scan for the right answer. All right, let's look at the next one. Differences in air are the causes of mirages. Differences in air what? Yeah, differences in air temperature, sure. Okay. The pool of water seen in the distance is a something of the sky. Number 34. That should be a pretty easy one. Reflection, yeah. There we go. All right. Next one. We interpret the mirage as water and not a mirror because the mind makes something from its past experience. Makes a what? So what does the mind do with its past experience? For number 35. Not example, not illusion. Makes an, definitely it will start with an A-E-I-O-U. Inference, that's right. Inference is the correct word. Very good. Who had that? Rumi, very good. Inference. Does everybody know what inference means? Inference means an educated guess. So the correct word here is inference. Okay? If you have to, you can go back and check the passage for that one. You know where it is, but the word is inference. All right? So mirages are created by temperature gradients that fool the mind. Differences in air density are the cause of mirages. So density was the correct word there. I think somebody got that. The pool of water seen in the distance is a reflection of the sky, and we interpret the mirage as water and not a mirror because the mind makes an inference from its past experiences. So if you got those, good for you. If not, don't worry about it. Go back, check the passage, have a look where that information was coming from. What is it that you didn't understand? Okay, make sure to do review work. All right, just three more questions here. It's a classification type. So classify the following fact as applying to a mirage or a hallucination. Write the correct letter A to B. Remember, there was one paragraph about that. It was paragraph B. So A or B, is it a mirage or a hallucination? They are fictitious. Number 36, is it a mirage or is it a hallucination? Fictitious means that it's not real, okay? It's not real. So number 36, is it a mirage or is it a hallucination? It's a hallucination. Hallucinations are not real. So if you see pink elephants dancing in your living room, that's a hallucination. It's fictitious. It's not real. If you don't know that word, write it down. Learn it for vocabulary. Number 37, they can be caught on camera. A or B. What can be caught on camera? Can I catch the pink elephants dancing in the middle of my living room on my camera? I don't think so, but I can catch a mirage. It tells me that in the passage. It's filmable, right? All right, next one. They are a product of the mind interpreting unfamiliar and contradictory phenomenon. Number 38. They are a product of the mind interpreting unfamiliar and contradictory phenomenon? A or B? Is it a mirage or a hallucination? I would say that number 38, product of the mind. So the mind is making it up. It's interpreting. So it's trying to understand something that's not familiar and something that's opposing. So maybe a mirage. Okay. I would say not a hallucination. But again, if I'm not sure, I can go back to the passage and check that in paragraph B. All right, make sure you don't waste too much time. If you're confident that you can get 12 of 14 questions correctly, don't waste a lot of time on the last two. So if I'm not sure of question 38, I would just circle this one and then come back to it after I'm done all three passages. If I still have time at the end when I'm done all three passages, then I would check that one knowing roughly where it is, okay? All right. So, girls and guys, that's it for today. The main focus of today's lesson were the list of headings and multiple choice question strategies. So I hope that you really got a good understanding. I know a lot of students requested that I give some information on those two types of questions again. So there you are, there you have it. Those are the strategies that I would use if I were to sit the IELTS exam tomorrow. So make sure you practice those at home, okay? Practice makes perfect. Sometimes I make it look simple and easy when I'm teaching it in class, but definitely it's something that you need to practice at home, all right? So, girls and guys, that's it for today. Tomorrow, we have a task 2 writing example coming up, requested by one of our sponsors. It will be a sponsor chat-only class, but everybody's welcome to attend and watch the live class video. I look forward to seeing you there. For now, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, a good evening, have a nice meal, get some good rest, start your day fresh and strong tomorrow. Peace out. Much love to everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful night and sweet dreams. Bye for now.